that hole, just in case there was anything else. And there certainly was, with mostly melted candles scattered all around it. There was what appeared to be a trap door in the center of the floor. I felt my blood freeze in my veins. Was I supposed to deduce that it contained a staircase on the 15th floor? Eventually, I just forced myself to laugh at the absurdity. I mean, there was no way it was possible, right? I made a decision right then and there. I began tearing down the wall some more, just so that I had enough space to crawl through into the hidden room. It really wasn't much bigger than a walk-in closet. Unfurnished wooden floors, walls, and a ceiling, with that weird trap door in the middle. I took a moment of hesitation before opening it. I mean, if it really did contain a staircase, there was no chance in hell I was going down there. I reached down and grabbed the metal handle, feeling around for any kind of padlock. There wasn't any, so I finally lifted the handle, not really knowing what to expect. There was only blackness at first, and then I shined my light into it. Stairs. There were actually stairs inside of this trapdoor. It shocked me so much that I instinctively closed it. I sat there for a moment, astounded. I started believing that it was just some weird illusion. With that in mind, I opened it up again and carefully stuck my hand down, past the threshold. They really were stairs. I spent the next few hours trying to figure out what could have been underneath my room. I asked around, did the research, and even went down the floor to see for myself, but everything yielded the same conclusion. It was just supposed to be another room. I knocked on the door of the person that I had mapped out to be right below me, but nobody answered. Defeated, I went back to my room to do some research online. However, I could find no similar experiences posted. In this situation, I did the one thing I thought was appropriate. I went to my coworker, Jacob's room, and told him about it. At first, he was a bit bothered that I was knocking on his door at 1 a.m., but I knew he'd be interested in this. He was one of those brash, paranormal aficionado guys. A bit annoying at times, but I'd say we were friendly enough. After I had explained the situation to him, he let out a skeptical and somewhat obnoxious groan. He still elected to come check it out, though. During the walk up, I was slightly concerned that it was going to be one of those situations where the whole room disappears or something. But when we got to my bathroom, it was still there. Still weird as ever. When I opened it up and revealed the stairs, I could see a look of shock spread across Jacob's face. I doubt he ever actually experienced anything paranormal before, despite all the stories he always tells. This was uncharted territory for both of us. We mused for a few hours, deliberating on whether or not to go down. Well, it was actually just Jacob trying to convince me to go down with him. Come on, I remember him telling me. What a story this would make. For whatever reason, he was adamant about going through with this insane stunt. Eventually, I agreed to go down 10 steps and then right back up, just to see what was going on and put a stop to his begging. We turned on our flashlights and he went first. As soon as my body descended into whatever the hell this place was, I could feel the atmosphere shift around me. Hard to explain, but it wasn't like when your ears pop at high altitudes. It was similar, yet different. I went down the 10 steps that I had promised before stopping and analyzed my surroundings. It wasn't like I could see much anyways, though. It was just dark. Incomprehensibly dark. I watched as Jacob continued further and further down. Are you sure this is a good idea? I said to him. None of this makes any sense. He had gone probably 8 steps further than I before turning to reply to me. Dude, this is crazy. You coming? Screw that, I told him. What is this place? As I said this, his expression changed from amusement to concern. What is it? I asked him. Did you hear that? He replied. I strained my ears, trying to figure out what he was referring to. It was faint, but there. Water? I couldn't really tell if it sounded more like somebody was sloshing around in ankle-deep water, or if they were actually swimming down there. But it was extremely far down, causing me to wonder how deep this place actually was. And then, Jacob did the stupidest thing anybody could have done in that scenario. He yelled out, "Who's down there?" And in the near utter silence of this apparently massive room, the echo seemed to carry it endlessly. It was quiet after that. Extremely quiet. No more movement. Whatever was down there had reacted. What happened next nearly gave me a heart attack. Heavy, wet footsteps began sprinting up the stairs. They were still faint at first, but they increased at an inhuman pace. Jacob and I followed suit, scrambling the hell back up the staircase ourselves. In the commotion, I had dropped the notebook on the steps as I panicked. We crashed back into the room, closing the trapdoor behind us. As soon as we did this, the footsteps ceased. But we didn't have peace of mind yet. There was no lock on the trapdoor, and the door itself wasn't very heavy. Jacob quickly lugged the coffee table through the washroom back into the hidden room, and then placed it upside down, pinning the trapdoor shut. After that, we just stood there, breathless. We glanced at each other, both of our minds probably on the same page. We still had 3 more days left on this business trip. I didn't really get much sleep that night, even after I barricaded the bathroom door with the dresser. I kind of wish that I hadn't dropped that book back there. Maybe I could have analyzed it further, uncovering any possible answers to what we had experienced. But for obvious reasons, I don't think going back down there is the best idea right now. The antennas weren't installed during the day. Somebody would have noticed the electrician's van in the street. I don't see how they could have been put in at night either, though. I can clearly hear when squirrels chase each other on my roof. There's no way I wouldn't notice someone walking around up there. Mrs. Jackson, a woman who lived in the house right next to mine, noticed them first. She had already called the power department, our internet and cable providers, and the homeowners association, none of which had a clue as to what they were. She insisted that I step outside and look at them, despite my face clearly expressing zero interest. Her voice was steadily growing more shrill with every word, so I eventually allowed her to drag me outside to avoid waking my 6-year-old daughter, Emma. Bleary-eyed, still in my bathrobe and pajamas, I followed Mrs. Jackson to the street to get a proper view of the thing. The antennas had 3 metal prongs, a bit like a pitchfork, pure black, unlike the typical silvery metallic ones. I spent several minutes nodding seriously as she rambled on and on, wondering how long I was expected to stand there before I could politely resume my apathy. "You could probably climb up there from your balcony," she pointed as she told me. "All you have to do is jump up and grab. Wouldn't it be just as easy from your balcony?" I retorted, gesturing to hers. Mrs. Jackson gave me a critical look as though trying to decide whether to be offended or not. It was only a subtle change from her usual expression, though I could tell she was becoming irritated. My husband won't be home until tonight, she said, as though that was my fault somehow. It'll only take a minute. It was just cold enough outside for politeness to suddenly become optional to me. Oh, wait. I remember what that thing is, I said, turning back. I drawled out my words so I could make it all the way to my house before I finished. That's just the government's secret surveillance program. Don't blow anything up and you should be fine. I swiftly shut the door before she could reply, and congratulated myself on a successful escape. I let my wife answer the door next time, and heard her apologizing over and over again on my behalf. I couldn't help but grin while she did so. My wife managed to get me out of climbing up onto the roof, but somehow we had lost Emma to Mrs. Jackson's daughter's sleepover during the negotiation. I didn't think anything more of the antennas until I left for work, and they caught my eye. They really did look quite odd to me, and upon looking closer I noticed there were 2 dead squirrels on my rooftop right next to it, lying in a small pool of blood which dribbled into my gutter. When I got home that night, I found Mr. Jackson kneeling on his roof beside the antenna. He was motionless and intent upon it, staring at it with such ferocity that I expected him to lunge and snap it off at any moment. Hiding from the missus? I called up to him. Nice spot. He started to move his head towards me, but stopped about halfway, his eyes never leaving the antenna for a second. Slowly, his head returned to its previously fixed position. I thought he might not have heard me, and I was about to try again when he said quite softly, Can you hear it? The static. Hear what? Hey, look, you mind taking a look at my antenna too? I think I saw 4 dead squirrels up on my roof. There were 4 now, when I glanced up at my antenna. I shuddered, trying not to look at them. There must be a hawk or something that lived up there. Mr. Jackson slowly turned his head towards me again, his eyes finally breaking away from the antenna at the last moment. His mouth seemed to be moving, but I couldn't hear anything. I stepped closer until I could hear a faint buzzing sound. He was blowing air through his lips like Emma did when she was trying to make a fart noise. The vibrating of his lips sounded more like static, though. We locked eyes for about 10 seconds, him softly blubbering the whole time. Without another word, I turned and went inside my house, glad to be rid of him. I didn't feel comfortable about Emma sleeping there that night, but I couldn't think of a good reason not to let her go either. I packed her school bag with her dolls, a board game, and a whistle, just in case. I told her all she needed to do was blow the whistle if anything was wrong, and I would hear it and come get her right away. After 10 minutes of continuous whistle blowing, including once when she tried to make it sound different by putting the end into her nose, I had changed my mind and was kind of happy when Mr. Jackson picked her up. Ever figure out what the antennas are for? I asked her. She gave me the stink eye.